I'm Katie, and this is episode 101 of Ornamentations, which I think is going to be so much fun because I have lots and lots and lots of Christmas in July fabulousness, sparkling and amazing. You know how I am about Christmas. Even if it's the middle of summer, I have several finishes and some haul to share with you. All of the giveaway winners from the last episode. Thank you all for joining me in celebrating 100 episodes of Ornamentations, a huge milestone. I also have sampler progress and a finish on my casket panel, as well as news about the Britomart Sampler, and that is actually where we will start today, which is just a quick update on the status of the Britomart Sampler. I have a very limited number of kits back in stock for the full kit with class option. I am working on restocking kit only option as well. Now, this is just a first restock. It is not the last. I have considerably more thread on order, and I am going to keep restocking and trying to get kits to you for the Britomart Sampler for everyone who wants one. So the first restock that I have is not going to be adequate to meet demand. I know that going in. I'm sorry about that. I'm working hard to get as many kits as possible in stock to you, so please be patient with me. But a limited number of kits are now available on my website, linked in the description, and those of you on the notification list should have gotten an email. Fingers crossed, this is my first time using the waitlist function on my website. If you do end up missing a kit from this restock and you were on the kit and class email notification list, do you think you'll need to sign up again and it doesn't roll over? Since it's a new feature, I'm not entirely sure how it works, so I'll keep you updated on that. Thank you for your patience. And then a quick note about the chart. I have been working busily on the course, getting everything ready for you, and that's how I'm discovering a few errors here and there on the chart. There is a corrections page that is linked in the episode description. It is also readily accessible from my website. From the main navigation, click on the Britomart Sampler, and from there's a link to the corrections page. The error is for the diagram for extended long arm cross as seen on the thistle tops in band 3, first appears in the second layer. The diagram in the stitch guide is over the wrong number of threads, 3 instead of 4. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I have done a new diagram. It's on the corrections page. My sincere apologies. The actual usage is correct on the chart itself, and how you order the stitches is correct on the diagram in the stitch guide. It's just it's over the wrong number of threads, and I can kind of see how I did that because when I corrected it, I kept on checking my work. The correct diagram looks really awkward, but I don't know how I do these things. Just brain fell out of head. So my apologies. The Britomart Sampler apparently cooked my brain. If you would like just a chart for the Britomart Sampler, hold please, chart, those are available from needlework stores of your choice. So that's the Britomart Sampler, and then let's get to Christmas in July because I have so much to share and it's really exciting. So I actually no longer have any Christmas in July whips. The stitching's finished on all of them, although I do need to FFO this first one I'm going to show you. And this is actually my August 12 by 12 one ornament for every month, and I am ahead of schedule. Look at me. I ate my Wheaties this morning. This is Paisley, one of the fabulous animal crackers by Stacy Nash, second Snowman, Snow Woman animal cracker I've stitched. We're going to look at Whitaker in a minute too. He is totally FFO'd. Paisley, I have finished the stitching but have not yet FFO'd, and I'm showing this just with a piece of cardstock behind you because one, I think it shows up the color of the linen better, and then the stitching pops a little more with something behind it. So this is Surfine on 48 count legacy linen Marchpane. The slightly lightly colored bride cake has been my favorite lately, but I did need a little more color in the ground here so that Paisley, the stitching, the white stitching, wouldn't totally disappear into the linen. You do actually finish these with quite a tight margin, so that's not, you know, a really essential point, especially because she's got this great little wreath framing the top of her head, and then you will frame her neck with the scarf added on afterwards. And oh, does she pop or what? I love her. So the stitching is now totally finished. I have to do the finishing and then a few points on the color conversion. This is an original silk conversion in Surfine. Again, this is stitched on 48 count. And I did make a few stylistic changes. Can't get all this. So I knew I wanted a brighter, juicier, richer red, and then instead of the brown accent scarf and trim on Paisley, I am going to do an off-white, just because, ooh, this said Christmas ornament to me. So these are my threads. And I did end up using 2 different whites, which is something that you could quite easily do without. So I used Blanc for her snow, since it would stand out more from the off-white linen. But because I wanted the pattern in the dress to be a little softer, there I used Surfine Creme. Now, if you were just using a different ground linen, or you just want one color of white off-white, not 2, you could easily cut that down to just one or the other, and then you'd save yourself a spool of thread. There aren't a ton of colors in Paisley, so if you're looking for something to try, silk or a higher count or just something new out on, this would be a really good choice because there's enough stitching in here to give you an idea of what it is you're trying out, but it's not a mega investment. They're all quite useful colors. So again, I have 2 colors of white, or I had 2 colors of white. The other one's now on the corner of the room. They'll all be listed in the description. And then red nose, cheeks, eyes, and wreath. However, if you would like, so the color I used is 2681. The 103 color would be 681. That's really bright, lovely, lightly blue toned red. If you wanted something that was a little closer to the more faded feel of the model by Stacy Nash, my recommendation would be 2523. That's still brighter, but it's a little more of a pinky faded red. Hope you can see. Cloud cover just moved over, so how colors are showing up is a little interesting there. But anyways, that's an alternate suggestion on Paisley. This will be listed on the description if you would like your Paisley to be not quite so bodaciously attired. I absolutely love mine, so I have to do the finishing for next time, at which point I hope to have an FFO Paisley to show you. She's really tiny and is going to be perfect for the tree. I am finishing her as an ornament and not as a stand-up animal cracker. So that's Paisley. Oh, and the other thing I was going to say about this, so the 48 count, the Surfine. Okay, I'm like creepily touching this, and that's because it's such a satisfying tactile experience. The linen has this really fine feel to it, and then the delicate stitches are just this wonderfully satisfying tactile experience as you're stitching. I loved just holding this and feeling it come to life under my fingers. I didn't even mind the black stitching because it was just comforting, I guess, to touch the stitching. That sounds a little creepy, but I think you know what it means. Stitching has definite texture to it as you start to build those up, especially if you stitch in hand like I do. And oh, I enjoyed the actual feel of Paisley as she came together. And then I do also have her companion on a slightly lower count. This is Whitaker. We looked at the stitching finished last time. I have an FFO to show you, and I do have a change. So he's all finished. He's a little lumpy. My line was lacking, I have to say. I could not use the Stacy Nash template that was provided, as this count was a little higher. I did not draw a great line, so he's a little lumpy, but he's still super, super cute. He has his little sequin and bead embellishments, and then that is a bright pink scarf. So last time I showed you the various options I had, and I thought I was going to go for the red, at least in hot sauce. That was what I cut and originally tied on him. I just thought it looked, the value difference was just too stark between that dark red, the off-white, and then the kind of mustardy caramel color of his pants. So I softened it just a touch. I went for pink instead. This is Crepe Myrtle by Weeks Dye Works. Contented Needle Wicker Kim, are you gonna do this? This looks fabulous. Anyways, and so then this is Whitaker next to his smaller friend on 48 count, who hopefully I will do a better job of finishing. I also got a little too cute trying to pull the exterior line in to follow the stitching line, and really when you look at Stacy Nash's template, you need smoother flowing lines, and it's one of those things you look back and think, ooh, that was predictable outcome, and what you did there was really dumb, Katie. But once he's just hanging out with all my other Christmas finishes, it's gonna be fine. I don't really care. That's my problem with finishing. I'm a little too lazy about it, and it does really benefit from being very detail oriented and taking your time. By the time I'm around to finishing, I kind of just want to be done and move on to the next thing. So I have talked about wanting Paisley to be ornament size, but quite frankly, this guy, not that huge. You could totally hang him on a tree, and yeah, that's ornament size in my life at least. So this is on 38 count. So if you were thinking I'd love an animal cracker ornament for my Christmas tree or any other kind of tree, or to hang off a door pole, or I don't know what, you could do it on 38 count, that'd be fine. Although, oh, I do love the tiny, delicate, happy stitches on 48 count. I also just really love the experience of 48 count, as I said. So those are my animal crackers. Look at me and all my Blanc stitching. I don't even know myself. But then I have one more Christmas in July FFO to show you. I'm on a roll here. I love Christmas in July, so much fun. And this is also Stacy Nash. We're having a Stacy Nash Christmas in July festival today, and I FFO'd my ornament size version of the Gingerbread House sewing book. This was an exclusive to the Jingle Ball last year. You will be able to buy it again this year if you sign up for the Jingle Ball, if I understood the post about this correctly. But I'm not Stacy Nash, so do not take my word as the absolute last word on the subject. So last time we saw this with the stitching finished, but it wasn't yet FFO'd, and I am thrilled to report that it is now FFO'd and ready to hang on the tree. I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. Look, oh my Christmassy fabulousness. Oh, so this is just finished as a standard ornament. I laced each side over a lightly padded mat board, slip stitched them together, and because you've got linen going into linen, that does make for a really bulky edge. So I've got a chunkier finishing edge, chunkier edging on here to just kind of help bring that all into scale, and so that the width of the finish doesn't really, the thickness of the finish doesn't really stand out too much. So I have 4mm crystal bralettes stitched on and then anchored at the top with the 15-0 round seed bead. The details on the beads used will be in the description along with the conversion itself. It's chunky, it's sparkly, it's fabulous. It's going on my tree, so I think that works. If you did want something a little more subtle, you could use the looped edging, beaded looped edging finish. I have a tutorial for that and I will link that in the description. That would definitely give a more delicate look. The briolet edging is pretty bodacious, but I love it. I mean, Christmas trees are not for subtlety in my book. I have seen photos of any number of lovely, tastefully decorated Christmas trees where there's a single color or there's a theme, and very nice. Not for me. Mine are always a riot of color, sparkle, and things that don't match. And that's how I like it. So it was finished according to my taste. The front, we talked about the beading on that last time. And then the back is all finished. I sparkled up that garland to match the front with the same mix of bead. Whipped it all together. Well, that's my finish. And then that's the size differential between the 45 count ornament version and the 37 count previously shared. This is as a sewing book, or it will be when I actually finish the interior. I'll do that during the holiday season. I have a plan, just hasn't happened yet. So, and then you can see what the different texture and tone of the beads, as well as the ground linen itself, bring to different finishes. Oh, I've enjoyed this hugely. So I am definitely still going to do what I was talking about last time, which was to make an ornament with just this section, do it on 48 count filbert, which is the 38 count equivalent of this color, 45 count nightingale, and then have an ornament I can put on my tree with those fabulous bugle beads. One other thing, speaking of fun things with crystal briolet edgings. Cardinal Kin by Plum Street Samplers. This was a previous kit release. I do still have a few kits in stock, but not very many. They are getting low. They may or may not last until the holiday releases, but this is going to be the absolute last of the Cardinal Kin kits. Once they are gone, they are permanently retired and the conversion will not be shared or published in future. So, Cardinal Kin, get it while it's here. Once they're gone, they're gone. If you haven't seen this before, that was a favorite. And this is a really great example of how changing the color on which you stitch something can really just change how you see the whole piece. I also made the cardinals all red just so it would pop. Not very accurate because only male cardinals are red, so looks great though. I'm all about design and color. Accuracy, not so much. And then those are my Christmas in July stitches, but there's more in the stitching, not in the Christmas in July. And that is my sampler progress. I got out Eliza Townsend's work, Oh Sweet Humility, by Cross Stitch Antiques again, and did a little work on this. I would say that I am moving forward on this by inches. I did finally make a color decision though that has been pending for ages. So let's take a look. There's not a ton of stitching that's been added since I saw you last. I finished the top motif flowers here. I also added the face, and what's critical here is I picked my color combination, especially my blue, seen in outline here. I haven't filled in the interior of that vase or the center of those flowers. In this corner, the red for the exterior of that vase is what's charted. However, when I pull it back, I think that's too strong because I've got my pink flowers with a darker, richer pink. They're popping more. These two things are fighting with each other, which is why I just completely changed up how I filled the vase on this side. One great thing about this being fully symmetrical is that when you've got a dilemma, you can test out two solutions and literally see how they stack up against each other, how you like them, how they work with the piece, and it's a great way to just visually problem solve. So if we go to this side, this is where I was testing out the blues. I am gonna frog this and match it up to this. I definitely prefer that one. When last we spoke about the blue dilemma, I showed you some of the different ones I was thinking about, and I said that I thought that a brighter blue was what was called for here. Well, not what was called for, I'm not using called for anything. What was needed here, what would visually balance and complement the piece. I did have some lighter, very gray blues pulled, and I told you that I didn't think they were going to be right. You know, it shows you I like to think that I'm pretty good with color, but it's still a matter of just testing things out, seeing what works, and sometimes chasing your own tail around for a hot minute, because I don't love that. I actually really hate it, and I think it's just too strong against all the other strong colors in this piece. Gentler blue that just kind of quietly supports and adds different tone into it is much better. Also, it tells you something about how situational color is. So here, these two shades used together are very, very similar to the bright red and the bright blue that are used together next to each other on Hannah and Emma Foster, which we'll look at in a minute. On that piece, I love it. Here, I look at this, I hate it, and I think it looks like Superman in a vase. Too many commercials for that movie on my television lately, let me tell you, because apparently that's what comes to mind when I look at my vase. So yes, I have left this in here to show you what my thinking was on the color decisions for this sampler, and then I'm going to frog it and match this side to it. So the blues that were under consideration on the spool, so this is in my Katie folio from Lou and Sue, and these are the threads I'm using. Those are 2 extra pinks I'm thinking about. I haven't figured out that border yet. That's coming. You know, I figured out the blues. That was a big step forward. So take a look at how they're used. And then look at the spool. It might not be what you expect. This in person to me always looks so gray. And then you put it on this particular linen surrounded by this particular color, this set of colors, and it really does look very softly kind of powdery blue. There's definitely still gray there. But I think that's also part of what makes it work, because my greens also have a lot of gray in them, so it's consistent with the other supporting colors here. So I am moving forward on Eliza Townsend now that I'm back to it. I would like to continue to move forward on this. How many times have I said that? That could be a drinking game, honestly. Only everybody would end up with alcohol poisoning. So famous last words. And then the other thing I wanted to mention on this was that so family lunch was on Sunday. I was stitching along, we were talking, and my brain apparently fell out and I just forgot to count. So I've got to make an error. I'm off by like 4 stitches in the stem. This should be starting way down so that the eyelet, basically those eyelet stems are so off. Normally I am a fudge it kind of person, but this is fully symmetrical. This would drive me nuts, not to mention I've already got most of one of the flowers in here, and this stem is about to run right into it. So I'd have to frog either way. And what I've decided is that, painful as it is, this is still on the working thread. I'm going to take out those eyelets, move the stem down to its correct position, and then just restitch. I think it's the least painful resolution to the place in which I have put myself, but ooh, I wanted to kick myself when I realized what I had done. You know, my brother was just being very funny about, I don't even know what, and apparently I was just like, ha ha ha, ha, stitching along. Forgot the counting is a thing. Oh, and back. So I always love showing the back on this piece. Very neat. Back. Eliza Townsend. So this is an original silk conversion with Surfine on 45 count Jersey Creme. I will put the updated conversion in the description. The only new color that's been added since the time I saw you last is the blue 2071. The other blue that was under consideration and that I showed you is 2604. If you're looking at what I considered and going, you're nuts, Katie, should have used the brighter blue. Please do, if that's what calls for you. Color is also individual. It is not right or wrong for any particular one person. So, whoo, but oh, it's looking so good. And then, yeah, as we can see, I have done nothing about all those missing carnations in the border. I'll get there eventually. Having solved the blue feels like kind of getting at least one thing out of the way with this piece. So hopefully some other color decisions will follow. I will figure out the border and we will move forward, and I will be showing you some good progress on Eliza Townsend next time. And then one last cross stitch FFO to show you. I finally framed Hannah and Emma Foster, which was our special Silky Symposium start. The attic still has kits for this if you'd like to join us. This is a start along with myself and Brenda and Laura of Laura and the Serial Starter here on Flosstube. And the chart is Hannah and Emma Foster by Paisley Lane. It's an all SWAT Gobelins conversion, and that'll be linked in the description as well, or you can get everything you need from the attic. So I decided that I was going to frame this myself, and I ordered a frame made to size from an Etsy seller, signed and numbered. Curious Crafters have used them a lot. This is the Park Slope frame. I like that it's minimal. I like that you can get a fully custom size. However, ooh, I had a goof and a half, and the reason I'm telling you this, I think if I can make this mistake, somebody else probably can too. So read the instructions really carefully when you are ordering a frame made to size, and just don't assume that what the words mean in your head is what the seller is going to understand. So when I ordered this, I gave them a particular size, and I said size of the interior edge. And to me, interior edge meant this. So I got the shock of my life when it came, and the interior edge was this. So this size plus a 1/4 inch overhang on all sides to fit into the frame. There went my margin. I had to cut it down, relace it, pop it into the frame, because this piece doesn't have a hard border. It's really tight, but it's got a lot of negative space, so I think it's fine. The error was mine. I am not in any way being critical of Signed and Numbered here, who make a great product. The turnaround was really fast. I think it was like 2.5 weeks for a custom order, and I love how it works with this piece, but I made a big goof. Be smarter than me. I'm sure there's a correct term if this is what you want to specify. You know, I could have just measured the size of my laced piece, given them that, and that would have produced the right size frame. Oh man, I felt really, really silly when it arrived and I realized the mistake I had made. However, thankfully this was a piece that was giving that particular error, so when it's just sitting on the shelf, it looks great. It's just when you get kind of close, you notice that, oops, I got my rosebud off. It's okay. It's fine. I still love it. So this is the special Silky Symposium start, Hannah and Emma Foster by Paisley Lane, all framed and hanging out on my shelves to celebrate friendship. So that is the cross stitch for this episode. I do have some really fun other finishes to show you. I have embroidery, I have some haul, and then the first thing we're going to look at is Katie's continued explorations in super fun, sparkly, fun tassels. So when I made my sweet bag, we looked at the tassels I made for that. I took the technique I learned from Jackie Carey. If you're interested in learning something similar, this is Jackie Carey's proprietary technique. I will not be teaching it. You need to go and study with her to learn it. However, I did study with her, I did learn it, and so I am exploring the form myself to make other kinds of tassels, and the first step in that journey has been learning how to develop patterns. So not just repeating the pattern she developed, but taking a different form and figuring out how to make a pattern for it. So this is my first adventure, although by no means my last, and this is a key tassel for my green casket. I haven't actually pulled out the green casket because I am legitimately traumatized by having dropped the Britomart casket. But the dominant colors in that are silver and green, so that's what I went for the tassel. And then I did do a full assembly with the braids at the bottom, all the stupid tiny Turk's heads knots, and whew! Added some tiny sparkling crystals, really fun. I think the body of the tassel actually turned out great. A little messy here at the top. I still have more to learn about this, but stay tuned for Katie's continuing adventures because, oh, is this fun? I can think about a million things I want to make. So sparkly, dazzly, so awesome. So the first of what I hope will be many. I'm starting with key tassels for my caskets because then you don't have to make a match set. So if you look at that and think, that wasn't quite right, then you move on to the next one. This one, actually, the stripe on the silver reminds me of like a really sparkly piece of candy. Fabulous. So much fun. And didn't turn my hand purple. I really am improving at this. Awesome sauce. And then the other little finish I had is a mother of pearl Pinkeep from Jackie Duplessis. So this is actually supposed to be a standard Pinkeep, but when Jackie sent me the pieces for this one, they made me think of one particular friend, and what I wanted to do with it was actually make it into a tiny little hanging ornament for her to display. I have still sunk tiny pearl hooded pins into the exterior just because I could give a great decorative edge. So when I have finished these in the past, this is my one that goes in my yellow casket, my very favorite. There, okay, I think you can just see how detailed the engraving is on that. It's beautiful. This is my favorite one. So when I've done these in the past, and I've also done the tulip and the leaf, and I have some more on my desk that I need to finish, I have just done traditional Pinkeeps. However, you can take the same essential assembly, but then at the top, instead of just turning your edges under and having one smooth edge, you can use my ribbon edge finishing, ornament finishing tutorial, add a little bow, make a hanger, and you have a tiny, fabulous ornament, and you can display it on a little tree, on a drawer pull, or whatever. So if you're thinking of another thing to do with all Jackie's fabulousness, and who wouldn't be? I have too many of them myself. No, I don't have too many of them. I have exactly the right number. Then this is, I think, at least a really fun little variation on just a standard Pinkeep form. As this is now finished, I am going to go ahead and send this to my friend for her to enjoy, but I wanted to show this to you first because I thought the finish was really fun. So, mother of pearl ornament. The mother of pearl pieces are from Jackie Duplessis, and you can contact her directly on Instagram or Facebook to get your own. And that brings me to haul, which is books. And I'm by no means the first person to show this. This has been making the rounds because it's an excellent book. I might dislocate my shoulder trying to lift this in front of the camera, but this is Tennessee Samplers by Jennifer Kaur and Janet Hassan. I got it on Amazon. I will put a link in the description. This thing is a brick. It weighs about 1,000,000 pounds. It is full color and, ooh, yes, 762 pages. magnum opus on a single subject area. So if we've talked about a lot of textile and textile history focused books on this channel, but if you are new to this channel, if you haven't caught some of those episodes, if you're thinking about what would you want to buy on sampler history and why, I'm going to talk a little bit about this book, some other books it springs from, and how you might want to decide what your purchase is. The foundational book on the study of samplers as we know it today is Betty Ring's Girlhood Embroidery, which is a 2-volume overview on American samplers. That's right behind me there. I didn't get it out because I was pretty sure I would have made it. Anyways, Betty Ring's Girlhood Embroidery is the foundation from which all modern scholarship on samplers really springs. All the stuff about genealogy, tracing the girl herself, linking them to specific schools or teachers, grouping samplers together rather than treating them as individual artistic exercises. That is all from the work of Betty Ring, who is just a pioneer in the field and really changed how we look at and study samplers. However, girlhood embroidery is like the trunk of a tree. Out of that have grown any number of excellent, very focused studies on samplers, both British and American. And Tennessee samplers is very much from the, area of scholarship pioneered by Betty Ring, because there is so much fabulous eye candy in this book. There are high quality, full color, large photos of samplers. They're divided by type and by region, and there are some wonderful things in here. I did not know that Middle Tennessee samplers were so compelling. There are some fabulous florals in here. Naturally, I opened the book up and I flipped all the things that I don't want to show you. I should have marked some pages in advance. Apologies for being poorly prepared here. But if you've watched me for a while, you know I do love florals. So I have found, I haven't read the whole book yet, but I have just given it a quick flip through. And there are a lot of just beautiful borders and beautiful florals and beautiful things in this book. That's how far I am on actually reading it, which, hey, that is not too bad. I am on page 134. Go me. It's well done enough that I do actually want to read the whole book, not just look at the photos. Although if you want to look at the photos, that would be totally understandable. So the tack that they have taken on this book is that they've got, it's a single state look, obviously, Tennessee samplers, diving into history of sampler working in this particular region during this time when samplers proliferated. And they're following in Betty Ring's footsteps in that the research is largely focused on genealogy. Who were these girls? What kind of families were they from? Do we know where they studied? And then, of course, school, teacher. Can we place them in groupings, both regional, school, teacher, etc. technique? So it is a wonderful, very detailed, really well researched book. And if you are interested in sampler history, definitely a must have. If you like books with lots of pretty pictures of samplers, also really great. However, I loved this one. Check that out. Fantastic. Awesome. Lots of great stuff in here. I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of it. However, if you're not a devoted sampler book collector, you're looking at starting a collection and you're thinking about what are the best sampler books, I did want to kind of lead into that. As much as I like the Tennessee sampler book, I would say that it's a very specialized study of a specific area at Tennessee and the kind of known tracks of scholarship. There are 2 books out there that I think kind of transcend what's already been done. They're both on British samplers. So if you're interested in specifically American samplers, then neither of these apply. But they're both books I've talked about before, and I have to recommend them again because they're great. And that is Sampled Lives, Samplers from the Fitzwilliam Museum by Carol Humphrey. Here the focused area of study is the samplers on a particular museum collection. And what Carol Humphrey's particular genius is here, why I would say that the book transcends, is that she does do a lot of the standard work of who are these girls, can we place them in groupings, that kind of research that's being very widely done these days, thanks to Betty Ring. And then she uses that to tell a larger story about samplers, how they've evolved, and what we can learn about the girls who made them from their work. Transcends. The other book that I would say really transcends is Imitation and Improvement, the Norfolk Sampler Tradition by Joanne Lukacher. This is out of print. It will cost you on the secondary market. It is, in my opinion, worth every penny. For one thing, Norfolk samplers have enjoyed a lot of popularity because they are beautiful. Again, florals. Ringing my bells here. However, the other reason this book transcends is that it's a very deep dive in a particular geographic region, history, all the usual stuff, but it transcends because she uses the story of Norfolk as a region, what's going on in there at that time, to connect how this particular form of sampler evolved. So to my mind, these are two of the best books on samplers available today. However, for research in the Betty Ring tradition, Tennessee Samplers is a fabulous book, and also I think a pretty good value for over 700 color pages and what must be a lifetime's worth of research, because really detailed. So far, every girl in here, they've tracked her down and they know all about her. It's really amazing work. So highly recommend, as well as the other two books that I referenced. All information on them will be in the description. So then that brings me to the last thing I have today before the giveaway winners, and that is my ongoing casket saga. So yeah, I finished the panel. I did not wait to show it to you on the frames. If you want to see the back, you'll have to wait for the step-by-step video at the end, which finishes with a photo of the back. I do document the backs of my casket panels these days before I glue them on, because at that point the back's gone forever. You'll never see it again. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so did not wait, because at this point when it comes to my caskets, as soon as I'm certain that the stitching is done on a panel, I've looked at it, I've decided there's nothing I want to change, I get out the glue immediately. It's a band-aid. I rip it off, I glue it, and I don't wait, because even as experienced as I am, I can still psych myself out. It never really gets emotionally easy to go and club glue all over your hard embroidery work. So that's how I deal with it. And if you are a casket stitcher, I really recommend that approach, but that's just me. So let's talk about the project. This is what I hope I showed this to you last time. This was the previously finished panel. And then what I have finished is the corresponding short sides. Now I'm onto the long sides of this casket. This is a short flat casket from Thistle Threads. And then this is my finish. Oh, I love it when my finished stitching matches the picture I had in my head when I set out to create something. That doesn't always happen. Very frequently it does not happen. So when it does, I kind of feel like I should throw myself a ticker tape parade. I think the flowers on this one turned out beautifully, and they just really elevate it. I'm in love with that lily with its sparkly center and all the glowing needle lace. I kind of landed the freeze on wonky here. It's a little skewed. You know, you're not going to notice when you're looking at the full casket. That's what I tell myself. And then what's different from last time, other than the part where this is now glued and attached to a casket, is that I finished the bird. And that was, I think, the last thing to do the last time I saw you. So his wing is patted out lightly with felt, and then I just did satin stitch over it in soie oval, which I stroked and laid properly with a laying tool. That's why you've got that really high degree of shine there that legitimately looks like shining satin. Glories of untwisted filament silk. And then his tail, sorry, I'm hoping this focused. It's hard to hold this thing up and steady. It is heavy. Those are tiny little finger loop braids that I braided myself out of soie oval so that they would be in scale and in the correct color. I had done finger loop braiding before studying with Jackie Carey, however it had been a long time since I had done it, so like kind of getting back into the rhythm has reminded me that I have that skill available to me to use, and it can be really useful to be able to produce exactly what you need in color and scale. So it gives him a nice little texture and a scale. It makes me think of like a tonal peacock, actually. So that is, ooh, finished side. I did do a step-by-step video of this. We saw the step-by-step for the last panel at the end of the last episode, and then the step-by-step video for this panel is going to be inserted at the very end of this Flosstube, so make sure to stay tuned until the very end if you would like to see how this panel came together stitch by stitch. The other thing I did is I pulled the trim to try and give you an idea of how this will look, because at the moment we've just got raw edges, and the raw edges will all get covered. So basically every edge is going to get a piece of metallic trim laid over it, and this is the gilt exterior woven tape from Thistle Threads, and that's how every panel is going to get framed out. It is really super gold, so this casket is going to be very, very serious, glittery business, and it will change visually quite a lot when you don't just have those white floating edges, but you have a very distinct, very gold, very heavy frame to each of these pieces. So that's the casket. And then what I'm going to move to next is the back. This will be my first of the long sides. I have not done anything about that yet so far because the thread for the next round of Britomart kits came in, and I legitimately dropped everything to get those assembled and ready to go out the door. So I did not draft out the design for the next panel or get it up and running. It's my hope that I will have that to show you next time, because now that I am back on this particular project, I'm glad to be making progress on my casket again. I don't want to put it away for forever, as much as I have 10 million ideas for sweet bags rolling around in my head. So with all of that, I now have the giveaway winners to announce from the last episode. So we're going to start with the linen packs, keyword neutral. Winners, Great Witch 21 and Maureen Minger Inc. 827. For all of the winners, I have commented on your comments. Please use the contact form on my website to send me your mailing address, and I will be thrilled to get your pieces out to you. Linen packs, keyword gray. The winners are W.I. Stitcher, as in I think Wisconsin Stitcher, and Anita's Space. On the Mother of Pearl needle minders from Jackie Duplessis, keyword pearl. Winners are Diane McClure 6884 and Mama Holt 2682. 0. And then the 4 charts on order, on offer, not order, they're free. Anne Mac Jennett by Needlework Press, keyword Anne. The winner is Kathleen Arves, ARVE 323. Maria, keyword Maria Finney, Shakespeare's Peddler. The winner is Cloudberry 1979. Margaret Doyle by Hands Across the Sea, keyword Margaret. The winner is Judy Stone 3645. And then the last winner is for Anne Morgan's Hands Across the Sea. The winner is Pamela Brown 333. Please make sure to contact me, send me your mailing addresses, and I will get you all your prizes in the mail. Thank you all so much for watching, for your very extraordinarily kind comments on my last Flosstube. I can't thank you all enough. I wish I had a prize for every single one of you, but I hope you're at least enjoying today's episode. So that brings me to the close of this episode, and then for next time, exciting, I have a little something special to accompany the chart release of Lucretia Robinson's Needlebook, which was my project from summer school 2024. A limited number of full kits that include all the finishing supplies, the felt, the finishing fabric, etc. All the thread, the chart will be going up for sale at that time, and then I will also be sharing the family story behind this piece and how it came to be. And then I will also be back one more time before summer school, which is coming up so soon, and I am so excited. I don't know where the summer has gone. It's already late July, and it just feels like it has gone by in a flash. I hope that you are enjoying your summer, that you're getting some wonderful stitching in, and please stay tuned for the step-by-step casket video if you'd like to see it. Otherwise, I'll see you again in 2 weeks, and happy stitching.